Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vicini. We're powered by CLNS Radio. Today's show, we're bringing back an old guest, Reags from over at Barstool. He started his own podcast, the Fundamentally Sound Podcast, with Ben Brust, former player over at Wisconsin. Ben's a fantastic guy. Reags, I guess, is fine. We talked on their podcast last week. We talked about a whole bunch of stuff, NBA draft related. You should go check out their podcast, Fundamentally Sound, on iTunes, everywhere else that you can get podcasts. Follow them on Twitter at FundamentallySD. Reags, how's it going, man? I haven't had you on the podcast since you started your own podcast. How is that life treating you, man?
Yeah, man, it's good. I forgot kind of what it's like to knock out episodes, planning for episodes once a week and twice a week we started doing for a little bit. We'll do once a week probably in the offseason, twice a week, and just going, all right, what the hell are we going to talk about now? Luckily, we are college basketball centric. The one nice thing is now with like the extension of players declaring early and the draft, like it makes it nice and easy to, and the way ESPN has kind of started showing more of like the AAU circuit and things like that. It makes life easier for all of us. Like it just kind of extends the year, and let's be honest, we're just waiting to get back to the start of the next season.
So like, beyond the whole, player rights thing that, everyone should be able to transfer, everyone should be able to do what they want to do, I think, within their lives. And I think that that's definitely a sentiment that you share as well. What a lot of people that say, like, this transfer thing is an epidemic don't realize is that it extends the life cycle of college basketball and extends the, just how much college basketball matters in our ecosystem, like in the sports world, in a way that it didn't, say 2, 3, 4 years ago. The fact that there are so many transfers now, and the fact that college basketball now has to deal with this new NBA draft deadline, who's going to stay, who's going to go, it really helps get the college basketball news more in, like regular sports news instead of being more of a niche audience. And I think that only benefits the college game. It's there are so many reasons why calling the transfer thing an epidemic is dumb, but, that's an ancillary reason that just, matters so much. I think it's just crazy to me that there are still people out there that are like, this is a bad thing for our sport, that all these kids transfer.
Oh, man, I had someone tell me, I think it was probably on Twitter, of a free agency market is just going to ruin college basketball. And it's like, how jazzed do we all get up when it's free agent signing day in the NBA or trade deadline day or something like that? Man, like, it's awesome. It's awesome. Let people do what they want to do with their lives. I don't care. I don't care what you do. I don't care. And that extends to literally everything. Like, as long as you don't directly affect me and my everyday occurrence or cause harm to society, I don't care what the hell you do with your day.
Yeah, I know. And like, these new, happenings throughout college basketball, it keeps it in the news and it keeps things fun. It keeps us talking about college basketball in a way that matters, I guess. Like, we don't know the way that these rosters are going to look in June, and to me, that's okay. We don't need to know how they're going to look yet. Like, I get that it's frustrating for college coaches, and, it's a new paradigm that they have to deal with. And I think that that's a lot of why you see some of the mouthpieces out there for college coaches kind of talking about, we need to do this, we need to do that to, help the college game in some way, or, help college coaches have understanding of their rosters. No, you just need to adjust to what's happening. You're paid 6 to 7 figures a year to figure this all out. And I think that,
right,
if you have any sort of problem solving skills, it's really not that difficult.
No, and it's true. I mean, it's that way with everything. Like, this is just part of the college basketball life, man. Like, to me, it's the same thing as losing to somebody, like losing your star player to a torn ACL, or losing someone to a transfer, or losing someone to the draft, or losing someone to academic ineligibility. Man, just adapt. Like, again, you not only are you a head basketball coach, you have guys on staff to help plan for this stuff.
Yep.
And that's the cool thing. Like, we're seeing across the country, more like analytic guys getting on staff. And I just know from experience at Kentucky, Joel Justice is now an assistant coach. Started as just strictly their analytics guy, and it's you can use analytics in a lot of different ways. You can use it for something like this, like, okay, if we lose player X, what do we need to do for player Y to come in? Who are our options? Like, man, it's shit happens. Like, that's all this is. It's a kid bettering his life. And, again, I'm sure people watch the Calipari 30 for 30. I thought he put it correctly of saying, why would I want to hold someone back from achieving their dream? And look at the DeJuan Wagner situation.
Yep. That's a really good one.
Like that, and of course he got, destroyed for it, but look at it. DeJuan Wagner never would have made, $7 million?
Yeah, I think it was something like that. He made right around 7 or so.
Right.
Something in that area. But yeah, he never would have made that money if he doesn't leave as a freshman and gets hurt as a sophomore or something like that. There's only so much. You only have a certain window with which you can make money, and you have an even smaller window where your stock is at its highest point following college basketball. And I think that, we can kind of transition this into a couple more interesting topics, right? Like Miles Bridges, for instance, his stock right now is wild high. Like I had him at number 8 on my most recent big board. I think
I had him at 11 for college guys.
Yeah, like you can make a reasonable argument that he was no lower than 11th on people's boards. Or
maybe 12 if you throw in, I always butcher his name, but Frank...
Ntilikina.
Yeah. There's 0% chance I'll ever say that correctly. He could be
Unless
my
he
best
goes to
friend.
the Knicks.
I'd still butcher correctly because I'd just be like, oh, you're the guy that Phil Jackson's going to screw. So... Yeah, I mean, if you throw, you throw him above him, but out of just college guys, yeah, he's, no lower than 11.
Yeah, so he ends up deciding to return to Michigan State. And, good for him. I really hope that it ends up going well for him. But the odds over the years, they're kind of against it, I guess, right? Like, there's only a certain amount of money that he can make on top of what he would have made by being a top 11 pick in the NBA draft. And I just think unless he rises to number 1, which next year I would be surprised if he could do that, just given how strong the top end of that class is. I think that realistically he can rise to the number 4 or number 5 level. I just don't know that there's enough.
7 sounds right.
Yeah, and I think that he's going to be the best player in college basketball next year, full stop. He is unbelievably good. And I think that we really underrated his season this year, and we can talk about that within the grand ecosystem of college basketball. But he's going to be the best player in college basketball, and those guys tend to get drafted, number 4, number 5, wherever in the NBA draft. I just really hope that he's making the right call whenever his stock is as high as it is, because we've seen too many examples of guys end up returning, like Jared Sullinger, Ivan Rabb.
This year, I'll say this year alone, Ivan Rabb, Thomas Bryant. Bryant's stock was never higher than after the NCAA tournament last year.
Yeah, Thomas Bryant is a very inherently flawed player who has fans certainly around the league. He plays incredibly hard. He can shoot a little bit. He's a skilled player, but whenever you're 6'9" or 6'10", even if you do have a 7'5" wingspan and you can't move, he just can't move laterally. His game is limited.
But after that Kentucky game, to me, that was the peak of his stock was after that game, and I guess after they lost Carolina.
Yeah, it's just incredibly difficult to raise your stock from the level of top 20 player in an NBA draft, because, there's only a certain number of players in that draft, and your pool is essentially going up whenever you decide to come back. Not only are scouts and stuff going to be able to pick apart your game and everything, but more players are entering college basketball. And I know that some end up leaving, the top 20 picks or whatever, or end up going to the NBA draft, and you think, I just automatically kind of slot in above everyone else next year. That's just not the way it works with the way that the one and done is so prevalent now.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Ivan Rabb should be calling everybody like a Miles Bridges and going, listen, if you really want to come back to college basketball, go ahead. But look what happened to me, and you really should just go get your money.
Yeah, I mean, I would
Ivan Rabb was
that.
was probably a lottery pick last year.
He
if
would
not
have
a
gone,
lottery pick, right outside.
Yeah, he would have gone somewhere in the top 18, I think, last year.
Right.
Maybe like 18
and now
to 20.
he's lucky to go top 20, I think.
Yeah, I don't know that he'll go in the top 25 of this draft. I have him at 34 on my board. I was never like wild high on him. Like, I think that at one point I might have had him like on the outskirts of the lottery, but never never higher than like 14 or 13, I don't think. And by the time that he had decided to leave the draft, I think I had him at like 18 or so. So like I was never like crazy in on Ivan Rabb.
But he should be calling everybody. Like, listen,
should.
Are you sure this is what you want to do? Like, I know, like, you can get caught up in people being like, you know, come back, you'll be the king of East Lansing, or, you know, the king of wherever, you know, come back and think about how cool it'll be to have everyone back for another year and all that.
And by the way, like, I've been telling people, like, this is a possibility. Like, everything that I had heard.
Yeah, me and you talked about it like a month and a half ago.
Yeah, like, everything that I had heard said that this was totally plausible. Like, not only.
Yeah, like, I felt like when his dad did that interview and mentioned it, that's when all the rumors started coming to the surface, like, where we were, like, texting each other, being like, this is definitely happening, right?
Yeah, like we were talking, like, okay, like, you know, his dad said something and, you know, maybe he'll end up returning, but it's still likely he'll go to the pros. And then I talked to people around the league and it was like, all right, like maybe this is a real thing. And even like, you know, I even had some people just be like, you know, there's no way that this kid can return. I mean, you just look at the way his stock is right now. There's no way. And we thought the same thing with Robert Williams, obviously. And Robert Williams, that one caught everyone way more by surprise than Miles Bridges ending up. Yeah.
Ivan Rabb needs to call him.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with Robert Williams is that Williams is just such a freak athlete with such freak length and bounce that as long as he doesn't get hurt, I think he's going to be fine.
I agree, but to me, that's almost a more similar situation. Bridges at least is going back to a great situation. Like, they're going to be 10 deep. They'll be preseason top 3.
Yeah.
You name his top 3. Texas A&M, like, there's still a lot of questions. That's kind of how I felt with Ivan Rabb. Like, you know, yeah, you lose Jaylen Brown. He goes back. Now all of a sudden Jordan Matthews transfers. And it's like, well, shit, people I thought were going to be here aren't here. And now it's really just me.
I mean, the good thing with Texas A&M will be top 25 to start the year next year.
Right.
Like, part of that will be because of him. But they also have Tyler Davis. They have... Admon Gilder will return, and they have DJ Hogue returning, obviously. And they get in Dwayne Wilson from Marquette. And I think they even have another point guard coming in. And Eric Vila's a really interesting, like, 6'11", stretchy.
Teresa Morales is still there, too, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not super excited about him, but...
I mean, it's just another guy, though, that you know, like, okay, I've played with him before. I know what I'm getting myself back into.
Right. And they have a lot of talent. Like, they will be a top 25 team in the country next year.
Yeah, they'll be the second SEC team.
Yeah, for sure. And, well, maybe third, because Florida, but we'll see. Florida,
yeah.
Nonetheless, Robert Williams, he's the kind of player where if he doesn't improve, he does fall. I don't think that he can fall as far as Ivan Rabb did, but like if he doesn't show improvement within his stock, it ends up being
like 15.
Yeah, he'll fall to like 20 or something like that. Like, you know, the name that I hear all the time for him is Sean Williams at Boston College. Do you remember him?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like crazy shot blocker, crazy athlete. I mean, Williams obviously had a lot of, questions about background. I think that he had some marijuana arrests and everything like that. It was a little bit of a different situation with him. You know, Robert Williams is, as of right now, I mean, and, I don't know this for sure, but, talking to people around the league, he's relatively clean background and he should be fine in terms of everything that goes into that. Even Sean Williams ends up going top 20 or top 25 or whatever, whenever the Nets picked him back in, early 2000s. So, there's a floor for what Robert Williams can do. It's limited athletes, and this doesn't apply to Miles Bridges either. Limited athletes should go as soon as they can because
I agree.
It's just so difficult to really kind of regain and, even maintain that level of stock at that point. And to go back to Bridges, I genuinely think that Bridges will be the best player in college basketball next season. Like, I mean,
he'll be one of like 4 guys that'll be a heavy favorite to win National Player of the Year.
To be honest, I think he should be the clear National Player of the Year favorite. Like,
yeah, I mean, you just like, to me, I always see like kind of like how people were picking Josh Hart, like how I picked Josh Hart this year. In terms of just like you expect Villanova just to win 30 games, like be a number one team. Like to me, that's Jalen Brunson next year.
Oh, Jalen Brunson! I'm on record. You can ask like C.J. Moore and like I think I even told Goodman. Like Jalen Brunson was my pick for National Player of the Year coming into the year next year before Miles Bridges came back. I
still might pick Jalen Brunson.
I don't think that's
Michigan
crazy.
State's going to be so balanced.
I don't think that's crazy, but I mean, right. Michigan State. Right. Here's the thing about Michigan State now too. So Michigan State gets back the best player in the country, in my opinion, in Bridges. His best position is the 4. He's the best player in college basketball next year if you play him at the 4, where he is just a total mismatch nightmare who can get to the rim against any college level 4, who can shoot, who can just be an incredible athlete and do a lot of different things in terms of switching defensively, protecting the weak side of the rim, doing everything that you want from a modern small ball 4 in the college game where, you know, there aren't a lot of 4s that are going to be able to back him into the post if there are any in the college game. So, Michigan State now has...
They have 42 bigs.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not real worried about guys like Gavin Schilling and, you know, they have Carter as well, the kid from UNLV, right?
Yeah, he got him. Well, he's the medical right. Did he get the medical redshirt year, or is he applying? He applied for it, I think.
I know Schilling got one. I don't know if I'm not entirely sure what Ben Carter's doing yet, to be honest. But so you've got those guys, right? And then you've got Nick Ward, who had an awesome freshman year. He's your starting 5. Nick Ward's your starting 5 regardless. Right. And then you have Jaren Jackson coming in, who right now is the hottest rising recruit like in all of high school basketball. Like if you talk to anyone around you know, recruiting who went to McDonald's, who went to Hoop Summit, who went
he showed out at Hoop
anywhere.
Summit. He
showed out everywhere from what I was told. And you know, this guy is a prototypical stretch 4, stretch 5 for the modern college basketball game and really the modern NBA. 6'10", 6'11", 7'4" wingspan, can shoot threes. And you'll wonder if because Michigan State has these 2 guys now and they have all these big men, do they try and play Bridges out of position at the 3 more often now? And he's going to be fine regardless because Miles Bridges is really good at basketball. But do you build around Miles Bridges at the 4, which is what I would do personally? I would just build around your best player at the 4 and go from there. Or does Tom Izzo decide, okay, we're going to get like our best 5 on the floor, and that's probably going to be Miles Bridges at the 3 instead of utilizing him at his best spot? There's a lot of questions still with Michigan State, even if they are maybe the most talented team in college basketball next season.
Yeah, I agree, because here's another one, even sticking with Michigan State. To me, you have to start Cassius Winston and bring Tum Tum Nairn off the bench.
Yes. I don't even think that's a question.
Right.
I think they'll do that 100%.
I had a Michigan State fan shirt me being like, oh, like Tom Izzo is going to bench his senior captain that's started every game last few years. It's like, yeah, because Tum Tum Nairn's like an average at best player.
I mean, there's a reason that Tum Tum played like 30 minutes combined against Kansas and Miami.
Right.
Like,
so, it's just things like that, which, I mean, hey, Tum Tum Nairn as your backup point guard in college is an awesome situation.
Yes, I agree with that. Here's Michigan State's best 5 next year. I will predict now.
The 4 freshmen from this year.
Yeah, it's going to be Cassius Winston, Josh Langford, Miles Bridges, Matt McQuaid, and one of Nick Ward or Jaren Jackson. I don't know. I may even go no McQuaid. To me, it's going to all be dependent on how Bridges and Jaren Jackson both shoot the ball. Give me those, get McQuaid out of there and give me the 4 freshmen from this year and Jackson. I mean, that's entirely possible. I would not be surprised if that ends up being, I mean, that is in theory Michigan State's 5 best players, right?
Right.
But I would venture that their best lineups will be when they go small because, you know, Matt McQuaid, for the fact that he shot like 35% from 3 this year, that guy's a killer shooter. He's going to knock down shots for sure. They're going to need a shooter next to Cassius Winston. They're going to need a shooter, kind of next to Langford, who shot really well this year, but I'm still not 100% convinced that he's like a 40% 3-point shooter either. and Miles Bridges, again, I'm also not convinced that he's like a 39% 3-point shooter like he shot this year. So I think they're going to want as much spacing on the floor as they can get with McQuaid, and we'll see what happens with Nick Ward and Jaren Jackson and how that whole thing breaks down, because Nick Ward was one of the most productive players in college basketball this season on a per-minute basis. But he's also an incredibly limited defender in a lot of ways, right? Like, he had like an 8% block rate, and he has really long arms, and he times the ball well. But like Draymond Green and, Michigan State, because of Draymond and because of all the other guys they've had, Derek Nix, Tom Izzo really understands how to work a defense around a slow-footed big man in the middle who can block shots, right?
Right.
So I think they're going to be okay with Nick Ward defensively, especially whenever you have all these athletes like Bridges and Langford and Cassius Winston on the perimeter who can switch and do a lot of stuff defensively. But it's just going to be tough to figure out who are their best lineups in terms of offense and in terms of defense. And, maybe Jaren Jackson's shooting ability is a game breaker that, allows them to play him with Bridges, who is also shooting better, and, Cassius Winston, who also continues to hit 38% of his threes. So, Michigan State has potential to be a extremely modern, extremely versatile offensive unit, but I want to see more of how they play, I guess. And if you made me guess right now, I would say that their best lineups involve Bridges at the 4 with 1 big instead of 2 bigs with Bridges at the 3.
Bridges just, like we've said, he's just such a college mismatch at the 4. And the one nice thing, I think we all talked about it at some point this year about how he was miscast this year as the go-to guy. And that, you saw a little bit of struggles early in the year. Again, another year of playing with the Ward's development from throughout the course of last year. If Jaren Jackson is who everyone thinks he's going to be, it's not going to just be, Miles, go take over this game. It's going to be letting him come into the rhythm of the game a little bit easier and a little bit more.
I'm interested in Jaren Jackson to see just how good he is immediately, because if you would have made me guess, I would have thought it made a lot of sense coming into these last few weeks for him to come off the bench immediately at Michigan State. But, maybe it's a little bit different now. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't there live to see every little bit of improvement he's made in his game over the course of the last few years. But I find it hard to believe that he is tangibly improved that much to where don't go crazy on this one, but Chad Ford had him as the number 6 prospect going into next year or whatever, which is banana land, but whatever. I mean, it's clear that this guy has taken a big leap in his game, or at least people think he's taken a big leap in his game. So I'm hesitant to assume that he is this monster, elite starting caliber 5 off the bat whenever you have Nick Ward and Miles Bridges.
I agree. I agree.
Let's talk about the other player who decided to come back and tangibly change the direction of their program. Arizona's Allonzo Trier decides to return as well. Were you surprised that Trier returned?
A little bit. I figured after this year with the suspension and all that stuff, and the way the way that they lost to Xavier, just kind of felt like one foot out the door.
Yeah.
Just because, again, Sean Miller's not one to sit there and care if a guy leaves for the NBA. He kind of comes from that same mindset of, go get your money. He understands the business.
And to be honest, he was probably pretty excited when Kobe Simmons decided to go.
Yeah, I mean, it helped shaping out the roster a little bit for him.
I mean, the Kobe Simmons thing, I should mention, that's been out there since January. I remember talking to a scout at a game at USC, and he's like, yeah, I've heard that Kobe's going. And I was like, what are you talking about? No way. And then I talked to every other scout that I talked to was like, yeah, Kobe is not long for the college game. And I was like, yeah,
that's fine. That's fine. College isn't for everybody.
Right. He's a guy that has a potential. He's perfect for the 2-way contract in the D League now.
Yeah.
And in the NBA, he's going to be a perfect 16th, 17th man on an NBA roster on those 2-way contracts, because 6'5", wild athlete who has no idea how to play basketball yet. and maybe he'll figure it out. Maybe he doesn't, but he's worth developing nonetheless.
And why not leave when you're what, 19, or I think he's still 19.
Yeah.
So why not leave when you're 19, can get paid a couple $1,000 to figure it out while you learn how to figure it out.
Yeah, like I'd imagine he'll make $100,000 next year to play basketball.
Which is more money than he's going to make in college.
Yes. Well, maybe. But yes.
Right. So, like, yeah, I mean, Trier, I guess I understand it because he's gonna be I'm so hesitant in saying it, but he's gonna be the scoring option next year for Arizona.
Yeah, he'll be the lead option for them.
Right.
I mean,
right.
They replaced Lowry with DeAndre Ayton essentially. I've heard some rumblings like maybe Dusan Ristic goes pro after this year. Maybe he decides to stay for his senior year. I don't know the way that's going to go. He's certainly someone that I would be surprised if he didn't at least declare for the draft without an agent, just because he's someone that will get a wild amount of interest overseas, and that could be a way to signal his interest overseas and playing overseas. But nonetheless, they're going to have DeAndre Ayton there next year, who is, when he wants to be, the best player in high school basketball right now. Even Michael Porter, who has clearly taken the leap into the number one overall player in high school basketball, according to basically everyone who watches high school basketball regularly. DeAndre Ayton, when he wants to play and when he is engaged in the game, is still the most talented high school basketball player in the country because he's 6'11" with a 7'5" wingspan, can shoot threes. He's 250 pounds and can back guys down in the paint. He's a good shot blocker who has great timing instincts. He's like if you built a basketball player in a laboratory and said, I want everything for the modern NBA game. And that would be DeAndre Ayton. But the one thing that he doesn't always do is he doesn't always play super hard. He doesn't always look super engaged. And that's one thing that Allonzo Trier always is. Allonzo, for whatever you want to call about his, questionable athleticism and whether or not he's an awesome, ball handler or whatever, that guy always plays hard and he's always looking to get buckets. So I would say that Trier will probably average 20 points a game next year.
I mean, he averaged 19 this year or 17 this year?
Yeah, I think he was right around 17 this year. He'll probably average 20 points a game on 60% true shooting again, because that's what Allonzo Trier does. He gets buckets, he gets to the foul line, he can shoot from three a little bit, and he has a good mid-range game. He's an incredibly skilled basketball player. And if you kind of know anything about him, he's always been someone that is intensely interested in being a professional basketball player. And he works like crazy to get to that level. It's always in his mind. He wants so badly to be a professional NBA basketball player. And I really root for him to get there. That's why I was a little bit surprised that he ended up returning. But
especially because he was probably going to be an early to mid-second round pick. Everyone lowered him early in the year because you just didn't know what was going on. Then it came out just a PED suspension or whatever. And it's he still is who we knew he was. 34, 35, 40, somewhere in that range. To me, he's kind of right around where you take Josh Hart.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Josh is a little bit better of a defensive player, but they actually have very similar dimensions in terms of size. They have very similar dimensions in terms of weight, with maybe Josh being a little bit thicker as he's a little bit older. But, Alonzo's maybe a little bit better of a true shooter. He's a little bit better mechanics, but
he's a guy he's a little bit better about getting his own shot too than Hart is.
A little bit, yeah. But they're both straight line drivers who attack closeouts and use their pump fake to get that attack, to get that space to attack closeouts. So
right, and Hart's at 40, 42 on most draft boards, so it's that's exactly where Allonzo would be. He was 36 to 40.
Right.
Because I'm always one that say get the guy that's a little bit younger.
Right. So we'll see what ends up happening with him. I was surprised, but his, inclusion into this Arizona roster, along with Ayton, along with Brandon Randolph, who had a killer Jordan Brand Classic region game up in New York last weekend.
What do you have, 32 that game?
Yeah, and to be honest, it was a 170 to 160 game.
Right.
But, nonetheless, he was the best player in attendance there. And, in that game, you've had guys like Donovan Mitchell, other New York guys have come through that game and really succeeded and, gone on to be potential NBA draft picks or NBA draft picks. So, that guy's going to be able to come in immediately and be an impact player. And, you hope that Raleigh Alkins ends up returning, because because I think that he could really help them. Tough, physical New York guard. And again, maybe Ristich returns, maybe Chance Comanche returns, because I believe he's up for the draft right now as well. They're going to be a really, really good roster next year. And it's going to be another year where Sean Miller is kind of counted on to get to the Final Four, where it seems like every year now, be it at the beginning of the year or be it at the end of the year, we expect Sean Miller to get to the Final Four. And, for his sake, as someone who I think of him as a top 10 coach or a top 15 coach in college basketball, I really hope he gets there so he can get this monkey off of his back. But it's going to continue to be a storyline, especially coming into next year, where he's going to have a top 5 team.
Especially the way they lost this year, where he got outcoached by Mac.
Yeah, that was not great for
that really, to me, it's almost like.
Well, here's a good question: who do you think's a better coach, Sean Miller or Chris Mack? Who's a better college basketball coach with everything included?
Yeah, Sean Miller.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
Sean Miller's a better recruiter. I think, kind of by far, he's a more consistent, better recruiter. Like what Mac's doing at Xavier, getting a guy like Paul Scruggs, that's impressive. But when you ask me, like, I'm starting, Barstool University, and I get these are my two candidates, I will take Sean Miller.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
they're similar. Like, it's not like a huge jump. Like, I think they're both two of the top 20 coaches in America. I think I probably have Sean Miller at like 8 and Mac at like 16.
Yeah, I think that's probably, relatively where I'm at on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, Sean Miller's going to be expected to get to the Final Four now. And again, I just hope that he hasn't put all of his chickens in the DeAndre Ayton basket, because
I got one for you on your, just hit me off the top. We're talking about getting to the Final Four. Would you rather have Sean Miller or Tony Bennett?
Who?
The two guys they need to get to a Final Four.
Wow. Oh, man. At a school like Arizona.
You're starting Vicini College. Nope. You're starting Vicini College.
What does my budget look like? Are we talking that I'm like a high major, like blue blood, like Arizona, or am I like a mid-level program in the
no, like you're expected to make a Final Four.
Probably Sean. I think that Tony's great at getting the most out of like limited talent in a lot of ways, but I think that Sean's going to get me the highest level kids, and I think that gives me the best chance.
I agree. I think Bennett's probably the better. The other thing too is I'd rather, not that Sean Miller plays a fast pace, but I'd rather not deal with 20-second offensive possessions.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Two other big announcements in the SEC that I kind of wanted to mention real quick. PJ Dozier and Devin Robinson both ended up signing with agents. That kind of hurts the depth of the SEC next year, which I think is going to be more up for grabs than what a lot of people do, I guess. Because I don't really believe a ton in that Kentucky team and in the talent they have on that roster and the way that those pieces are going to fit together, depending on what they do in the graduate transfer market and everything like that. Florida's going to have a kid in Kayvon Allen, and they're going to have, probably Igbunu returns, Chris Chiozza, Kavaris Hayes was really good late in the season. Yeah. They're going to have a pretty good roster next season. And then, Texas A&M is going to have a good roster next season. Like, I'm still saying, like, if I was a betting man, and I am a betting man, I would still take Kentucky to win the SEC, but I think it's going to be a little bit more up in the air than it's been over the course of the last few years.
Yeah, I'm still very much one of give me the talent and they'll figure it out. Because Kentucky's going to be young. That's the thing. Like, not just regular Kentucky young. They are going to be all freshmen.
They're going to be all freshmen that don't fit together in terms of skill set super well on the basketball floor, right?
Well, that's what I'm curious to see because, Vanderbilt's been one of those guys that have been kind of busting out recently. If he's able to stretch the floor a little bit, they just got what's his face, the 4-star shooter from California, Jamal Barker.
Yeah, yeah.
So someone like that is huge for this class because now you had like that shooter. I really like Shai Alexander. I think he's going to be kind of that guy that I was talking about this with a buddy. There always seems to be one guy in the Kentucky class who you don't know what to expect, and then he all of a sudden becomes a top 20 pick. To me, Shai is that guy.
That's interesting.
That's what I think it's going to be.
You're the first person that I think that I've heard say that, to be honest.
I just think he's, and again, he's that freak, size with a huge wingspan, super athletic. Man, if he shoots like 37%, 38% from the 3-point line, you're telling me an NBA team at like 13 wouldn't take him?
Yeah, I guess that's not crazy.
Right. So there's always one. Like the Kentucky class always seems to have one guy that kind of busts out a little bit. To me, it's just, he can play on the ball or as your 2 guard. So it's like, all right, let's see what happens. But yeah, I do think
and they do tend to do super well with those late bloomers too.
Right, exactly. So I do still think Kentucky's a top 10 preseason team. But yeah, there might not be as much hype with this Kentucky team as other Calipari teams. But again, I still think you're talking about a top 10 preseason team.
Yeah, that's interesting. But Devin Robinson and PJ Dozier, what do you think about those guys? And maybe I'll break them down a little bit more on like the NBA Draft podcast I do this week. But what are your impressions of the way that those losses affect their college programs?
To me, Florida losing Robinson means you probably lose being a top 15 preseason team.
Yeah. I think they should be top 25, but I don't know if they should be top 15.
Like they'll be like 21.
Yeah.
But with Robinson, I mean, if you wanted to put him like 11, 12, sneak into 10 in some polls, I wouldn't throw my arms up about it. This is a team that was in Elite Eight. Like they were good all year, and you return almost everybody, including a couple NBA guys like a Devin Robinson. Mike White is a good coach. So, there's a chance for them to get back to the Final Four. Like, and not only that, but win an SEC title. I think you see that gap between them and Kentucky next year a lot shorter if Devin Robinson's back to where they're, neck and neck.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. And then PJ
Dozier, yeah, I think South Carolina's screwed. I love Frank Martin, but South Carolina, they'll be fun because of their defense, but they'll be vastly irrelevant, I think, next year.
I mean, they lose Thornwell, they lose Dozier, they lose Dwayne Notice.
You can't lose your 2 guys that could go get a bucket on a team that can't get buckets.
Yeah, they lose Justin Mackey as well.
Yep.
Yeah, they're going to be in some trouble next year. It's going to be a rebuilding year for South Carolina, which makes this run so cool, right? It puts into perspective the way that Frank was able to build that program. Georgetown should have given him a call, I think.
Yeah, I think – I don't know him personally, but I almost wonder if he knew Dozier was leaving, if he'd say, okay, you know what? I don't think South Carolina fans would be upset if I left right now.
Yeah, I think that they would have understood it.
Right.
Leave South Carolina to go to Georgetown or something like that. Yeah. And I mean, he has good connections in the DC area. I think that, there's a lot of, we haven't talked about the Patrick Ewing thing yet between the two of us. What did you think of that?
I was kind of meh on it the entire time. Like it's irrelevant until he announces his staff. That's the only thing that matters.
He's got 2 of them, I think.
Who has he announced besides Louis Orr?
He got Louis Orr, and he got this is bad. The assistant from NC State.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't love it yet. I thought he was kind of put in a tough spot to get a great staff. Honestly, I thought he kind of got screwed not being able to keep his son. Like, again, it's a guy that's been a guy that at least has been on like around Georgetown and can help. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I've said it from the get-go. I would have much rather them get away from the John Thompson 3 or John Thompson 2 family tree. Bring it. Like, I was all in on them just handing the keys over to a young guy like Jamie and Christian, and you're just going, you have some time to rebuild this program. And you know what? Georgetown just giving the double fingers to John Thompson, being like, listen, this is how it is. Like, this university's scared of a 75-year-old man. And it's a shame. Like I love Ewing. I hope they're good. Like, college basketball is awesome when Georgetown is awesome. I don't see it. It feels a little bit like the Chris Mullen hire. Like, yes, Patrick Ewing has had more experience coaching than Chris Mullen. I get it, but it's the name. Like, you're winning your press conference. It's an easy press conference to win, especially when it's Patrick Ewing. But again,
and by the way, he kind of did shitty in the press conference.
Right. But don't Georgetown fans won't buy in that. Like, we understand it, but Georgetown fans don't.
Yeah.
But
the assistant coach that he got is Orlando Early, by the way.
That's what. Okay.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, like, he has experience coaching the NBA. That's not the same thing as college basketball. And that's what people don't understand.
I'm sorry.
Like, yeah.
I clicked Orlando Early's Wikipedia page. His Wikipedia page reads as thus. Orlando Early is an American men's college basketball coach. He's currently an assistant coach at North Carolina State under Mark Gottfried. That's not really true anymore. From 2005 to 2010, he served as head men's basketball coach at University of Louisiana at Monroe. Early has served as an assistant men's basketball coach at the University of South Carolina and the University of Alabama. Daughter, Erica Early, a very beautiful, talented young lady.
Oh, God.
Without a period or any sort of, like, punctuation.
That's perfect.
That's it.
That's perfect. I love the hire now.
I'm in. I'm in on Orlando Early.
But, man, like, I don't know. Like, well, I guess we'll see about Ewing. Like, again, you're Georgetown. Go hire who you want to hire, not who John Thompson wants you to hire.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know how it's going to go. I think that's the thing. I think that it is a risky hire that was unnecessarily risky, I guess.
Right.
Like, given who they could have gone out and get. Because I don't know that this is going to be a bad hire. Like, I don't know that it's going to be, a disaster. I think it could work out well. But you go out and you get a guy who doesn't know how to recruit, who, as far as I know, doesn't really have a ton of connections in that world. And then you go out and hire Louis Orr, and you do get a great assistant and a recruiter in Orlando Early, but you need one more at least, because you need someone who can hold down the DC area. You need someone who can, really take care of business then. The guy that, I'm sure that they wish they could have gotten was Raphael Chilius, who ended up going to Connecticut after leaving the Washington staff, has killer ties in the DC areas. The guy who recruited Markelle Fultz out of DeMatha. That would have been the hire as an assistant, like the home run if you could have made him your associate head coach or whatever. But we'll see. I don't, I'm not optimistic with Ewing, but I'm not like pessimistic either.
You know who I think
I just don't know.
They also should have tried to. They got beat on it too early, but they could have got Orlando Antigua, like Illinois went and got him. Say you're in charge of Chicago. Throw him. Hey, you're getting New York kids to Georgetown, or whatnot. I mean, again, he
fully agreed
there. Yeah, I guess he's a little bit younger than Ewing.
The thing with Antigua is he's going to have some potential NCAA stuff.
Right. Take the risk on him if you're Georgetown.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that's crazy.
Like I loved what Underwood did. Like, all right, he's a great recruiter. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and if we have to dump him, we have to dump him.
Right. Like, who cares? Like, if you dump him, like, how many times do assistant coaches get dumped?
Yeah. Is there any other college basketball news that you want to think of that you think is important? Like I guess Bonzie Colson returning is super important.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like Notre Dame's gonna be Notre Dame. Like, they'll probably be like preseason 22 and finish top 4 in the ACC.
I bet they're higher than that in the preseason.
You think?
I mean, you get a guy who's going to be like a consensus preseason All-American back. in Bonzi.
Do you think Colson will be?
Yeah.
I don't know. Who's your preseason All-American? I don't know if Colson is my first team All-American.
I mean, I wouldn't have him on mine personally,
right.
but I would bet that he's on it. I mean, he was first team All-ACC this year, and he's the only first team All-ACC guy returning.
Off the top of your head, who would you have as your...
Jalen Brunson, Michael Porter, obviously Miles Bridges. If Nigel Williams-Goss returns, he would be on mine. Although, again, let me rephrase. He would not be on mine. He will be on the team. I think that he's
I have him on mine.
I would probably have Devontae Graham over him next year.
Yeah, I have Graham on the second team.
Man, then it gets tricky. I might have someone like Deng Adele on my team.
Not a bad one.
If Semi Ojeleye returns, he'd be on my team for sure.
Someone asked me about him. I had him probably on like my second team.
Jock Lawndale, I think it's pretty hard to keep him off.
That's not a bad one.
He was like second team or the second best player in the country according to Ken Baum.
Ethan Happ, would you have him?
Oh, Ethan Happ. Yeah, Ethan Happ would definitely be on my top team. I didn't get to Wisconsin yet on my team list, but Ethan Happ would 100% be on my top team. So what? I've got Porter, I've got Happ, I've got Miles Bridges, I've got Jalen Brunson. That's 4. And then who would be my fifth? Fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth.
I would have Allonzo Trier.
Yeah, Trier's not a bad one. I'd have John Motley for sure if Motley ends up returning.
Yeah.
Because Motley has the thing with his knee now. I think he has a torn MCL, which could end up like kind of holding him out of the draft process a little bit more than he's hoping for. Another underrated one, Eric Mika, I would highly consider if he ends up returning.
BYU.
Yeah. I mean, he put up 20 and 10 this year. He was wild good in college basketball this year.
You know what's good? I hope there's 3 West Coast Conference preseason All-Americans.
That would be amazing.
That'd be awesome.
Imagine
if Collins come back, you could have 4 guys in making preseason All-American teams.
There's no way that it would have happened, but no way it will happen, but that would be just the most amazing thing ever.
It'd be awesome.
Man, I'm trying to think who are some of the other random returnees that just have wild years. Who else is there? I mean, Bonzi Colson is one, obviously.
Devontae Graham.
Yeah.
Some of the Michigan guys, depending who comes back. If you think DJ Wilson makes the jump.
DJ Wilson and Mo Wagner. Some people have Wagner on their team. Would anyone have Marcus Howard? Marcus Howard's really good. Brian Crawford's really good. But I think we're getting below that.
Grayson if he comes back.
Yeah.
Or Frank Jackson.
If Grayson comes back, he'll be up there.
I could see Frank Jackson being a first team All-ACC preseason.
Yeah, I think that he probably will be if Grayson doesn't come back. The big thing with them is, too, we have to see what happens with Trayvon Duval.
Right.
Because Trayvon Duval could just totally throw this everywhere. Trevon Blewett is another one, if he ends up returning, that could easily be on this list. Jeffrey Carroll, if Jeffrey Carroll returns to Oklahoma State, or grad transfers if he can.
Yeah.
There are a lot of good college basketball players coming back. I feel like last year I didn't feel that way, and I felt like we would be dominated by freshmen this year. But this year I feel a little bit better about it, I guess. I feel like there are more really, really good just college basketball players that are returning to the college game this year.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of the second banana type guys. Everyone that made their jump last year is now leaving. The John Collins of the world and those guys, Caleb Swanigan. And the guys who were the second person to that group are all coming back. So it's oh, wait, I remember, he was on that team. He was pretty good. Oh, wait, now he gets to be the best player.
Oh, underrated one that I'm super high on. Chris Clark at Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
I really, really like Chris Clark. Yeah. I think he's a super underrated NBA draft prospect. 6'6" dude, passes
rebounder.
like crazy, rebounds like crazy, draws fouls. I hope the key for him is going to be improving as a jump shooter. I saw it up close at Wooden this year. It's not perfect, but it's, you can at least maybe mold it a little bit. It's not like broken mechanically either. So we'll see. I think that he's a guy for sure where if he's healthy next year, he'll be like on my all like underrated coming into the year list because I really like him. The last thing that I think we need to talk about is the fact that the Penguins are kicking the Blue Jackets' ass right now.
Yeah, that sucked last night.
Yeah, I like went out to a bar. It was like my birthday yesterday, and Laura was super sick. So
Wait, it was your birthday yesterday?
Yeah.
Shit, you share a birthday with my dad and brother.
That's crazy. Like
30 years apart to the day.
Your dad and brother?
Yeah, and my mom's today.
Is your brother older or younger?
Younger. He's the youngest of three.
How old is your brother?
27.
He was born on the same day I was.
Oh shit! I always forget you're 27. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just turned 27, so yeah.
That's right.
Just
yeah. Literally on the same day.
People forget that. That's wild. So, do you just want to start yelling out Whippeal schools to talk shit about while I tell you about how much better the Pens are?
How great was that when I completely forgot you went to Shaler and you were just like, what the fuck? And I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
You're just, like talking shit about my high school and like, I'm just like, whoa, what is this? And I realized like, oh yeah, you're a Blue Jackets fan. When did you like start watching hockey and like become a Blue Jackets fan?
So my sister used to work for the Blue Jackets, so I always had free tickets. Like I grew up a Rangers fan. Like I say Rangers fan very loosely, like, when hockey would like on and like we never watched, like it was always basketball and football. Like hockey always just got buried. But playoffs are on, it's always fun to get into. But for the last 5-6 years, I always ended up with a bunch of free Blue Jackets tickets. So I'd go up to the games and whatnot and at least start tracking along, and it's fun to get into playoffs when I'm in playoffs.
By the way, like it's like 90 minutes for you to get
not even.
Yeah, like I live in Hollywood, and I went down to Anaheim last on Thursday to go see Ducks and Flames. And people think of like, LA and Anaheim being like sister cities, right?
Right.
It definitely would take you less time to get to Columbus to go to a Blue Jackets game than it took me to get to Anaheim.
That's insane.
Yeah, which is hilarious because it's probably like 60 miles, right?
Yeah, a little bit further. It's probably like 80 miles.
Yeah, so it's like 30 miles from where I live.
That's insane.
And yeah, definitely took me like considerably longer than it would take you.
Yeah, so that's how I became a Jackets fan. Like I had no ties to them whatsoever until I started getting free tickets.
Yeah, the first year that I was in college was the first year that they made the playoffs, where like Steve Mason was wild and crazy, and like
Rick Nash.
Like Rick Nash was awesome, and our dorm, like the dorm next to ours, me and my buddies, I think 2 of the guys had Blue Jackets season tickets, so like they were going down for like a ton of games and like going to playoff games, and I was like, okay, that has to be pretty cool to like go see the first ever playoff series for an organization. Right.
Another thing too is like my sister's husband is a huge hockey fan, and so like when I'm around him, like we'll have hockey on, so it's like all right, I'll sit there and watch hockey with him and whatnot. So that's how I become a Jackets fan. Like I am not I am nowhere near like a diehard hockey fan. Yeah. I just get into it, and it's fun to lose money on bets. So why not?
Yeah, I'm someone who's been like super excited about like Jake Gensel for like 2 or 3 years now. So like the fact that he's like dropping hat tricks in playoff games, like is fucking fantastic.
Right, like I'm not like locked in on the like,
Blue Jackets prospects.
The Lake Erie Monsters, the affiliate of the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah, we've got the Wilkes-Barre Scranton. I think they're the Penguins too.
Yep, they are. They are.
Yeah, where Toby is the assistant, or Toby's the head coach probably from The Office.
Yeah. Oh yeah, God. But because I would grow up going to like a couple Hershey Bears games, but even then, like, I was always like, Dad, can we just go see basketball instead, or football or baseball?
Because when did the Blue Jackets get there? When you were probably what? Like, what were you? You were probably 17 or 18?
When the Jackets became a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was probably in high school. No, I had to be in high school. What year did they start? This is their... Let's see here. I'm Googling them right now. I'm trying to remember what year they became a franchise. They started in 2000. So I was...
Oh, wow.
I was 13.
Well, I just made you way older than you are.
Yeah.
I apologize for that.
Yeah. I was... 2000, I would have been like 7th grade, 8th grade.
Yeah, but no one cares about the early years. No one cares about like the first 7 or 8 years or whatever.
No, not at all. Especially, I grew up in Pennsylvania. I didn't care about the Blue Jackets. Honestly, the only memory I had of the Blue Jackets, and it's dark, is that was the arena where the girl died getting hit by the puck.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That's why the Nets are there. That's my only my only knowledge of the Blue Jackets for a couple years.
Yeah. Well, I'm very sorry that your Blue Jackets are just copying.
Come on, the Whippeal thing was funny because it was just people were like, "What the hell are you mentioning Stowe Rocks for? Have you ever been there?" I'm like,
"Where did you even grow? You were outside of the Whippeal, weren't you?"
Yeah.
You were Central PA, right?
Yep. Yeah. South Central, York.
And you're just what is your league even? I don't even know.
So my county league was there's 22 schools in York County. So that was our YAIAA. So it was York High, West York, East York, Northeastern, us, the Lone Catholic, Central, and then so we'd play about 16 county games, but then we would play Philly schools most often. We played a couple charter schools, but then, states would always end up being our district, which we won, or, I made the state title game my senior year and played Beaver Falls, but it was always District 3 versus District 7.
Beaver Falls for you, would that have been
Lance Jeter?
Yeah, I was going to say, I wanted to say Pooh Jeter, but it wasn't Pooh, it was Lance.
No, it was Lance was a junior when I was a senior. He was, no joke, he was one of the toughest people I ever had to guard. And that includes, the Morris twins. He was a tougher guard than them. Just because that dude was good. He was 6'2". He was a football player. He was recruited. He came to Cincinnati for his freshman year to play football, but he was also a baseball recruit.
Oh, Lance Jeter, when I was growing up, because he's, I want to say, a year older than I am.
Yeah, he's a year younger than me.
Yeah, he is, he was the guy other than Terrell Pryor in our, in our area. It was him. It was Terrell Pryor. Herb Pope was there too, but it was Todd Thomas, the kid that played at Pitt. He played football at Pitt, but he was also super awesome at basketball. Those were the three that were just straight up ballers around the area. And yeah, Lance Jeter went to Nebraska, didn't he? He ended up in Nebraska.
He came to Cincinnati for a year to play football, transferred to junior college in Florida, I think it was, and then ended up at Nebraska.
Yeah, and
and started every game for Nebraska.
Yeah, he was awesome at Nebraska.
Yeah, and then they had a kid, Jack Anderson, who could have played. I think he was originally going to go to Brown to play one of the Ivy League schools, and ended up just going to Carnegie Mellon.
Well, yeah, Carnegie Mellon's a great institution,
right? But he was going to play at one of the Ivy League schools too, and then just said, screw it, it's Carnegie Mellon.
Yeah. Speaking of, if we're going to talk about hockey, though, we should close on Zach Werenski.
Oh.
Do we want to? How many hilarious hot takes have you seen today about hockey players versus basketball players?
I actually haven't seen any, and I was really hoping to because I was just going to send a picture of Kevin Ware and being show me a hockey guy with this injury.
Or show them Russell Westbrook playing with what was literally a dented face.
Oh, God, yeah.
I still, that is one of the most remarkable things to me is that he seriously played with a dent in his face.
Yeah, he's a lunatic.
Yeah, he is a crazy person.
Sure.
Yeah, Reags, do you have anything else you want to talk about before we get off of here?
No. Hopefully I don't die this weekend. I got my bachelor party this weekend.
Oh God, where are you going?
Nashville. So if Nashville listeners, if you see me, please remind me to mix in a water.
Please don't. Just tell.
Because my idiot friends won't do that.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me. Knowing.
I know. So this may be the last podcast ever for your boy.
I apologize for people who are fans of Reags on the show. This will be the last time that we hear from him. He will not be. Even if he lives through it, I don't really think he's going to be coherent. Like,
no, it's going to take like a good week to even sound normal.
Yeah, man, it gets harder and harder. I'm finding that. Like, I used to think that I'd be able to just like deal with alcohol forever, but no, that's not the way it works.
It's like, I feel like a running back. Like I'm hitting 30 here in a couple months. It's like, man, no one's going to sign me.
Well, your bachelor party is this weekend. Your wedding is when?
June 3rd.
That's funny. I'm in Ohio for a wedding that weekend too.
Oh, really?
That's the one where I'm going to Cleveland for a wedding. One of my like really good friends from college that I don't think I ever lived with John. No, I didn't. But like one of my best friends from college is getting married, so I'll be in Cleveland. You're going to be getting married that weekend. It's going to be a great weekend in Ohio, apparently. Four weddings.
Back in Pennsylvania.
Oh, you're getting married in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we're both from back. We went to the same high school.
Oh yeah, that's right. You told me that before.
Yep.
That's going to be awesome. Reags, give the podcast and give your work over at Barstool a quick plug.
Follow me, Barstool Reags, on Twitter, barstoolsports.com. Go to Barstool U. Every day, about 4 o'clock usually, my daily draft breakdown of one player gets posted. And then obviously during the season, off-season, everything covered throughout the day there. The show on iTunes, all that good stuff, SoundCloud. The Twitter handle is fundamentally SD. Like Sam said, it's former Wisconsin guard Ben Brust and I. And usually we have different varying opinions because he comes from the Wisconsin background. So there's usually a little bit of debates there.
They just basically talk shit for an hour.
Pretty much. And usually just directed toward the NCAA.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. I had a fun time when I was on their show. I'm sure I'll do it again. I'm sure that you guys will hear me over there occasionally. You'll hear Reags over here. He does a great job at Barstool. You should go there. You should go follow everything that all the great talents over there do. You should follow Ben over at Ben Brust. You should follow Reags at Barstool Reags on Twitter. And this has been the Game Theory Podcast. We really appreciate you guys listening and, really supporting the podcasts you have over the course of the last few weeks here. We would appreciate ratings, reviews, subscriptions, everything like that. Anything, even just the smallest moment where you can support the podcast. It goes a long way because it helps us rise the iTunes rankings, gets the word out about the podcast a little bit more. We'll be back on Wednesday or Thursday with an NBA draft breakdown. We'll be back on Friday with, some NBA talk about the playoffs that are ongoing now. So keep it here again. The schedule is going to be more, hopefully Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I know that this is going to be posted on a Tuesday, but with Easter and with my birthday and everything, it ended up getting pushed back a day. Like I said, though, the plan Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We will, keep it light with college basketball, then NBA draft, then NBA. So keep it locked here. If you want anything to talk about with any sort of high levels of basketball, we're going to talk about them all. So thanks for listening again. And like I said, we'll talk soon. Bye.